Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Uncanny Comic Quest YouTube channel. If you're here, maybe you're someone who's already subscribed. If not, I'm glad you found my channel. Be sure to subscribe, though, because we are having a giveaway once we reach 300 subscribers, 400, 500, 600, 700, all the way up to 1,000. And then we'll probably even have some more after that. But once we reach 1,000, we're going to be giving away a bunch of cool, crazy stuff. So be sure to subscribe. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Flashpoint and how it could work within the DCEU. This kind of took me off guard when Warner Brothers came out at Comic-Con and said, hey, the first Flash movie is going to be Flashpoint. I thought, what? Wait, what? No, they could... Really? Flash? No. Wait. Are they serious? For real, though. Like, I think everyone was kind of, like, scratching their head, like... But, we've only seen Flash for, like, 10 seconds in the DCEU. Now we're gonna have freaking Flashpoint? What? Like, we've seen him have a future time travel thing with Bruce Wayne, and then we've seen him in Suicide Squad taking down Captain Boomerang. And now we're gonna throw in one of the most pivotal storylines of like the Flash ever. Like, I mean, it was back in 2011. It's still pretty fresh. Like, it's still pretty recent considering how long the Flash has been around. But that's one of the most pivotal storylines of the Flash is Flashpoint. And it's like, that's going to be the first Flash film? Like, are you certain? Are you sure that's the best route to go? Are you positive? Not sure you know what you guys are doing over there at Warner Brothers. But that's just me. But today's episode is about how I think that could work. So it's me not trying to be apologetic for Warner Brothers, but more trying to understand why this might work for the DC Comics Extended Universe. So my idea is that if they're going to do Flashpoint, it isn't necessarily Flashpoint Paradox. Maybe they're just using the Flashpoint name as something to definitely draw the comic fans in, but also it is a creative title rather than just having a movie called The Flash, which I think people might confuse that with the TV show. To comic fans, we're like, yeah, I know the freaking difference between The Flash TV series and The Flash, like a movie. But maybe they don't want to cross those things and they couldn't think of a more creative name other than, let's just call it Flashpoint. I think they're very loosely using that name. And us comic fans are like, Flashpoint? You can't do Flashpoint. How are you going to do Flashpoint? You can't do Flashpoint right now. Like, that's insane. That's crazy. And I do think it's sort of crazy to be using the name Flashpoint for this movie. But here's why I think it could work. You just use the name Flashpoint, and as much as I would have liked the first Flash film to have been one of his rogues, like, say, Heatwave, or it could have been Captain Cold, I would have loved to see, silver screen adaptation of Captain Cold. I would love to see Leonard Snart on the big screen. I really do love the version of him in the Flash TV show, but it'd be really cool to see, like, a live-action movie version of that character. Would have been cool to see that rogue. But since they're using the Flashpoint name, I feel like they kind of handcuffed themselves, and they have to use Reverse Flash in this first movie. Like, you have to. If you're going to call it Flashpoint, and we don't see Reverse Flash in this movie, what the fuck are you doing, Warner Brothers? Like, you don't know the first goddamn thing about the source material that you're trying to give us. Like, read a goddamn comic. Come on. So Reverse Flash has to be used in this first film, which I'm okay with that because Reverse Flash, he's amazing. Eobard Thawne, he's such a great character. DC Rebirth didn't exactly do him justice. Like, when he first came back, like, it was cool, but then it kind of explained his backstory, and it wasn't cool. But let's just take Eobard Thawne for what we usually know him for. And he's a great character. So it would be really cool to see him introduced. And I think that they could intro the movie just like a Flash comic would, where Barry usually has a lot of inner dialogue, and maybe you could show him if he is in fact just working as the CSI for the Central City Police Station. he could be having that inner dialogue. It's like, hi, my name is Barry Allen. Some of you may be familiar with my story, but for those of you who don't know my story, my mother was killed. Almost like the intro to the show, but definitely different in their own unique way. But basically, it would catch the non-comic book fans up to where you don't necessarily need an origin story, but he would kind of just give you the gist of everything he knows. Like, he would say that the man in yellow, like, Reverse Flash killed my mother, blah, blah, blah. So you could do that, and then, excuse me, blanking. Sorry. You could have that intro, and then, so he's introduced the Reverse Flash, and then this movie touches on that. Maybe he even does deal with his rogues, and he takes out what we think is the main villain of the movie, but there's still like 40 minutes left of the movie. But Reverse Flash shows back up and kind of taunts Barry. And so Barry thinks, maybe I can go back and save my mom. And so the movie ends with him going back in time to save his mother. And then the next movie would be Justice League Flashpoint Paradox, which you'd be like, well, that's kind of stupid. They used the Flashpoint name in the Flash movie, and then they're going to use Flashpoint Paradox. Because Flashpoint was the comic name, Flashpoint Paradox was just the movie adaptation, but you could use it as two separate movies if you wanted to, and I think that they can make that work. The only downside of that is, though, that they're introducing Steppenwolf in the first Justice League movie, which means that's definitely a precursor to what's to come, which is obviously Darkseid. So you can't have Steppenwolf and then have Flashpoint and then have Darkseid, because there's got to be repercussions to Flashpoint. So I'm not sure exactly how they would make that work. So if they did the Flashpoint movie and it ended with like what became the Flashpoint Paradox, to where maybe it shows him go back in time, it shows him save his mother, and then it kind of just ends. And then maybe it has a teaser of, let's say, the alley scene. Maybe maybe we use Zack Snyder's footage from Batman v Superman, where it's got Martha and it's got Thomas Wayne in the alleyway, but we see the events unfold differently. Like, that's the after credits scene. That would be really cool, and that would be like the teaser for the next film. But we're supposed to get Justice League this November. Then we're getting a bunch of other DC movies that I don't really care as much about. And then 2020 is when we're supposed to get Flashpoint. I would think that since it's 2017, we would get the second Justice League movie before 2020. So hypothetically, if we got Justice League 2 when we get Darkseid, it was in 2019. I think that 2020 would definitely work for Flashpoint. And then you could have Justice League 3 being Justice League Flashpoint Paradox in like 2022, where it deals with the repercussions of the Flash movie going back in time and changing the timeline. You could definitely have that, and you would have had the Batman movie, then you'd have Justice League, other movies we don't care about, then you'd have Flashpoint, and then you would have, I'm sorry, you have Justice League, a bunch of movies, Justice League 2, you'd have Darkseid, maybe they defeat Darkseid. It'd be kind of lame if they defeated Darkseid that easily if it wasn't a two-parter, but, Warner Brothers doesn't know what they're doing anyways. Then you'd have a Flash movie that was Flashpoint. Then you could have your Nightwing, your Batgirl movie. Then you could have the third Justice League movie, which would be actual Flashpoint Paradox, where it takes us into that other universe where Martha Wayne is the Joker. Cyborg is like this world's Superman. You have Captain Thunder, basically Shazam, who is played by like these 5 or 6 little kids. It's not just the Billy Madsen kid. It could be really good. I think that the third Justice League film could definitely be Flashpoint Paradox. It was weird. I mean, when I heard Warner Brothers is the Flash movie will be Flashpoint, I'm like, what? No. You can't do Flashpoint yet. You can't do Flashpoint yet. There isn't even a second Man of Steel movie. We're going to do Flashpoint? 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 What? No. Too soon. Too soon, bruh. Too soon. Can't do Flashpoint yet. Unless you do what I just said. That makes sense. Flashpoint is just the name. and it's the precursor to the actual Flashpoint paradox. It's a Flash movie, not necessarily an origin story, but it is like our first in-depth view of Barry Allen touching on time travel, phasing through objects, taking on Captain Cold, but also introducing us to Eobard Thawne, who, you know, the Flash doesn't necessarily have to be super familiar with as a villain, but he's come across him. He remembers him as a child, kind of like the Barry Allen we've seen in the Flash television show on the CW. You can make that work. So Flashpoint is just the name. It's the name to get people like fired up about it, like, I can't wait to see Flashpoint, because I mean, it's a Flashpoint. A DC Comics fan hears that and they're like, Flashpoint. It's like when Steppenwolf said, no lanterns. We were all like, you just said no lanterns. Oh my God. You know, you get that hyped up feeling. So I could see them just using the Flashpoint name just to get the hype built up for the first Flash movie. And then you have a third Justice League movie that is the actual Flashpoint paradox, where it takes us into this alternate reality. And I would love to see them use the technology they used on Chris Evans when he played Captain America, the first Avenger, where they made his body like shrunk and tiny, like Benjamin Button disease, and like, you know, it had a Chris Evans like skinny face on like this tiny frail body, like, oh, I'm Steve Rogers, I wanna join the army, guys. You could do that with Henry Cavill. Like, you could, and I would actually love to see that with him locked up in some government facility, and he's like this mini version of Henry Cavill. It'd be so good. And then Cyborg goes to break him out. It would be amazing. So I think that they can make this work. I hope that they make this work. I really, really, really want the DCEU to get its legs under them. Wonder Woman was a great step. You know, that was a great step in the right direction. It was great. We're all waiting on Justice League. Hopefully Justice League is good, because if it's bad, Ben Affleck is definitely gone once he's out of his contract. If it's good, though, maybe we keep him around and we can build this big universe, because I don't care about Marvel versus DC. Marvel's better than DC. DC's better than Marvel. I don't give a shit about any of that. I want them both to be good. I want them to challenge each other. I want each one to bring the best out of the other. Like, we're doing Infinity War, and I don't want DC to necessarily be like, we gotta catch up, which, unfortunately, that's how they felt. So they've been rushing all these, rushing all these characters and everything. But I want it to be a healthy competition to where they keep the other motivated. And I just want to see good films. So hopefully Warner Brothers, you probably won't see this video, but maybe some intern who's working in the mailroom who's delivering mail to Zack Snyder, maybe this gets back to him. Not holding my breath, though. But I just want Flashpoint to just be borrowing the name Flashpoint and it getting adapted after a second Justice League movie. I'd like the second Justice League movie to take place in 2019, Flashpoint to take place in 2020, and a third Justice League film to take place in 2021 or 2022 and have it be the Flashpoint paradox. I think that could be a really good route to go, and I hope they go that way. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, what you think is your best idea. If you like my idea, if you hate my idea, it's okay. I love having a little bit of creativity here. Feel free to email us at uncannycomicquest@gmail.com. And please, again, don't forget to subscribe, because we're going to give away stuff at every 100 subscribers that we have. So just click that little button and then be notified every time we come out with a really cool, awesome new video. So I'm Chris with Uncanny Comic Quest, and thanks for tuning in. Until next time. Bye, guys.